Those dinner table conversations, very important. We're losing them. Very, very important. You have to put everything aside. I have practically seen families that basically go for, camping, like a camping. They call it digital detox. And they're gone for 4 days, no access to any digital world. They leave their computer.
Hi Shaka, welcome to my studio.
Hi Sanjana, nice to be here, and a topic very close to my heart, discussing that.
So, anxiety, stress, growing up, everyone has felt it, but I'm hearing about these things more now than before. Why do you think is it we are thinking about it more, or is it actually happening? There's more to it.
So, in my opinion, the awareness was not there. That is one reason that the detection is more. We are coming out of that stigma that this is not a problem or this is not a health condition. I should not even say problem. This is not a health condition is what we are recognizing. So hence we are, there is more of it, detection is happening. But there is also then the second part of it is, it's not just the detection, it's happening more and more because social media, to some extent is contributing to it. The generation we are in is of instant gratification. If you don't get the instant gratification, you suddenly feeling like, oh, I did something wrong. That anxiety sets in. Nobody's liking it. Why? Because it's so visual, it's so there, 24/7, you are on your phone, and many other factors. I think we have forgotten how to relax. That's one big thing, why it is we feel like, okay, even workplaces these days, the 8-hour day 20 years ago is so different from the 8-hour day today. At school, I deal with kids, at school, or in education. When I was growing up, I never heard about dinosaurs. So these kids have more to learn than what the previous generations have already learned. So there is much more availability, and so a child is feeling anxious too. You can see a 8-year, 10-year-old child feeling anxious because there are so many ways a certain topic can be learned, and they just cannot figure out how, why, and then the comparison is always there. Comparing to ourselves to others, and if in previous generations or previously what used to happen is, with us, having limited access to information of any kind, it was less and less of that comparison would happen. But with us, all of us having access to, beginning from the kid to the adult, we all have access to all the information. You can just ask Google one question and the answer is right there. And these are all things that are contributing to, the growth of all these, yes, I do understand it's physiological, chemical imbalance, and, but then if in previous generations, we had ways of relaxing. So even if we had that, we had the techniques to deal with it early on. But these days we don't do that. We just basically are going constantly. And then if it is not dealt, anxiety, if it is not dealt in minor spaces as a young adult or as a young kid, it's not going to go away. There is no magic happening. It's not like a magical journey. Okay, yeah, today we have it and tomorrow it's gone. You know, I can also almost say it's not cough and cold, that it might end in 5 to 7 days. There's a course to it. They stay unless it's dealt with, unless we seek help, unless it's we have a solution to it and we are working on it. And if we do not work on it, it can only get severe and severe, and then it leads to critical situations. It can lead to depression, even though they are very, they can be very different. Somebody could just be anxious, and that anxiety keeps growing and would never go into depression. But then somebody could just be going into depression because they're so correlated too at times, right? So in my opinion, that detection is making us more aware. People are ready to talk about it. That is the reason, you hear more about it. Previously it was not as well spoken about. There's more awareness. The people are taking the time to educate. There's more advocacy on those topics. Celebrities are talking about it. So people are thinking, oh, this is real. This is not like something that is just our myth or feeling. It is not that. And like I said, FOMO is contributing. Fear of missing out every day happening to, from no matter which culture you come from, which level of life you come from. And then the other thing is unhealthy living. We're all guilty of it. We're all part of it. There are days when you just don't have the time to put a meal on the table. So Grubhub, Uber Eats, all that is, as much as that technology is helping, but it's also being a devastation because people are just relying on it. And unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy habits of not having a sleep routine. With social media being in place, or the computer generation coming, the tech generation coming, you could be on the TV or on your computer 24/7, which is very unhealthy for a normal person, as much as it feels appealing, but it is not, and the biggest thing is people are not taking the time to relax.
So, for a young parent, what would you, what could we guide, like, as should they restrict the TV time, or like what is it like, or what is it that like some time aside for social media or technology stuff, or some time to relax? As a young parent, should they be guiding or helping their kids make a good routine? Would that help?
I think yes. They say the first lesson starts at home, and so we as a young parent should basically find, that balance. The key is balance in their life. When they say work-life balance, what the meaning of that is, that take the time out just to be with the family. And so that gets the child into the habit of speaking, talking when required, when help is needed, or otherwise, generally casually. Yes, screen time has to be limited. There is a lot of information, good and not good, on social media. As a young parent, I would also, the biggest thing I would like to tell parents is, please understand, this is a real problem. If you are seeing signs of it, please do not be in denial. Let us accept. Like I said, validation is big. And if you see that, an early on help of putting, practicing yoga, breathing techniques, simple breathing techniques, meditation, like I said, people find relaxation in different ways. I like to cook. I feel it's relaxing. If I have a calm mind, cooking is relaxation. Somebody could be doing music. People like you can be doing music, right? Music is a relaxation, because unless you're relaxed, you won't be able to sing, right? And drawing, coloring, these are like art. Basically any art form is, so these are all real, and basically ways of taking the time to do this with your child every day, or in, not every day, if not every day, maybe set some time aside for this.
Make a good schedule or something, right? Because, and also I feel like, conversation with the family.
Those dinner table conversations, very important. We're losing them. Very, very important. You have to put everything aside. I have practically seen families that basically go for, camping, like a camping. They call it digital detox. And they're gone for 4 days, no access to any digital world. They leave their computers home, laptops home, iPads home, phones are not working. So and basically it is like it's a requirement that you leave your phone behind.
That's very good.
The digital detox, for even for parents, required for adults too. Why talk about kids? The adults require it the most too, So we have to practice, and unless we practice, you cannot preach. Basically, unless your child sees you do it, it's just talk. A talk is at times is not going to work. It is not going to work because you have to walk the talk.
Practice it.
Yeah. Unless you're walking the talk, parenting is a very challenging. Parenting is challenging. They will see you do it, they will do it.
No matter what you say.
No matter what you say. If you are taking the time at the dinner table to listen to them, that will be the time. That is a big message you are giving to them. We are available for you to talk to. Anytime when you come and talk to us, we are going to drop everything and talk to you, right? So these are big messages and big reassurance you're giving your child, that there is somebody is there for me all the time.
And those things can help prevent some of these stress issues, right? Because you have a friend, you have family, siblings, or a parent, or both parents, or they're having a good conversation, right?
Yeah, and that it just, the messages you're giving a younger person or a child or a teenager is, they see love. Love is a very unspoken language, right? Can we speak love? No. Saying I love you means nothing unless there is a practical implication to it. It can be in any form. It could be just a hug. It could be just like those eyes meeting each other, right? So there is it's not a language. It's something that you detect. It's something that a child senses right away. And those are big things for the prevention. Those are big things for the prevention, The society is not heading in a good direction anyway, with families, with troubled families, I should say, and troubled relations. It's not anyway going great, right? Some of this can just not be avoided, will be there, but then there are still ways. I have seen even single parents deal with it in a great way because they're there for their child all the time. They're, so raising a healthy child in that aspect, I have kudos, I have respect for these people. When two adults didn't get along, they didn't let the child get affected by it, So the biggest thing is, like I said, the first biggest thing is it's real. Let's not deny it. Let's not say, no, it's not there. Seek help, I've seen kids go for therapy all the time, and are there good results out of it? Yes, there are, I have seen kids on medication. Are there good results out of it? Yes. Do they come out of medication? Yes, the answer is yes, and I have more respect for people who, validate and say it exists, because it's a journey, and the person who's involved in it, I always have this discussion with my peers that, they didn't ask for it. It just happened. It's a chemical imbalance in their brain. What can they do? I mean, nobody wants it. But so it's something like, it's like a disease, like, you could have cancer, right? So the person having cancer really wished for it? No, it just happened, right? So if it happened, what is the way out of it? Help, support, right? And so all that should be given. The biggest thing is validation. They agree and they understand. Yes, it is there, right? And that's when they reach out to, and they go with the heart to the doctor that I'm going to get cured.
Yeah, like any other
Any
infection or disease.
any other disease,
We
right?
do that, right?
Yeah.
We go to the doctor, right?
Yeah, and so my biggest thing is, even as young parents, if you're seeing, signs, very related or somewhat related to this is anger management. We see it, we do not address it. We let it go, right? What happens in the end? That is, I think that is one big reason of anxiety. Not dealt at the right time, right? So if you see it, please, my biggest thing is validate, deal with it. Get support, give support, listen, talk, all those things. And as a family, just feeding the child, clothing the child, giving all the requirements is not parenting. Parenting is, like I said, you have to be able to walk the talk, the dinner time, the coffee time, just spending, carving an hour out for even board games in a week.
Or even while driving your kid to the school,
Yeah.
you can talk to the kid about things and sharing, right?
Yes, big thing. If you're picking up your child, that's a big time of conversation of what happened on the whole day, which I do every day with so many kids, right? I get to hear so many stories. I almost feel like, the kids are the bulletin boards of the house. They publish all the news at that time. What this happened, that happened, so you're hearing so much from them. We as care providers are very sensitive, and we understand what the kids are going through, and sometimes it's really just difficult to even explain it to the parents. But like I said, this is real. Acceptance is very important. And then I think people like us should be advocating for it, because it's there. And actively getting involved in the community, basically saying, what can we do, how can we help. My big thing is, I'll provide care to any child. These are issues, and somebody has to deal with them. And if we are not able to readily accept and deal with them, then how would they get help? Somebody has to say, I can do it.
The stigma also has to go away, that it's like any other issue, you have to deal with it, right?
Yeah, and educating the peers around. I mean, that's a big thing. Like when you're a child at school, or a high schooler, right? Kids around him, basically, or her, right? Don't want to be around that. People don't want to be around, things that are not right, But then you have to educate and say, let's all help. Let's all, be there. Let's all do, even if we can do one thing. And if 10 people do just one thing, it's a cumulative effort, right? Basically. So I think, in my opinion, my big message to the parents is, stop, think of what you're doing. Think, because it's very important. These kids are like a sponge, they absorb everything, right? I've seen, this is my biggest talk that I have with the parents. I've seen parents not driving well, not following the rules, and suddenly you have a teenager behind the wheel, and then you're like, okay, this is you read the rule book, right? Why are you speeding? You just jumped a red light. Okay, where did the child learn from? They're sitting beside you every single day, watching you do this every single day, right? You are on the phone driving every time. How can you stop that child? So it's the same thing. Unless we teach them how this has to be done at an early age. When I say early age, even like a 2-year or a 3-year-old is understand, yeah. And they basically can absorb that, a child instantly identifies a loving hand, a loving face. Just that, like I said, there is no, you cannot speak this. It's an observation that happens, and a toddler can instantly pick it up, right? And so my thing is, be there in their life. It's very important to drop things and just be there. When I have interviews with my parents, the biggest thing I say is, academics will happen, other extracurricular activities will happen. You take them home and just spend some quality family time with them. It could be different for every family. One could just be reading. And one day it could just be the screen time. I want to watch a movie with you together. It's okay. But as long as you are carving that time out, you're teaching them techniques to relax, to stop, to, in times when you are feeling that stress or that anxiety, to do things which can calm you down. That's a big
How to handle that, right? Or even things like when you talked about healthy habits, right? So when you have a good relation with your kid, or then you can guide them, they will listen to you, right?
And unless you're open to that conversation, unless you've opened that door, how would they know they can reach out to you? If you're dealing with your own stigmas and not overcoming them yourself as an adult, how do you expect a young child to do that? Whether they are a toddler or an elementary school, middle school, high school, university kid, and yeah, young adults too. So the thing is opening that door for conversation, and that will only happen when you start validating that their emotions are also right, listening to the child. Not all the times we have, if we it's they say agree to disagree, right? Basically, so you have to be in agreement that I understand things are happening, like bullying at school, real, very real, right? But I would say I would like to say 7 out of 10 times it's somebody feeling something, right? It's not actually that, but a child feeling that way. And you instantly realize that is a sign that your child has emotions of that nature, right? Oh, she was looking or he was looking at me like that. Big thing, very big thing in little toddlers. Yeah, right, yeah. So identifying those.
And not denying them that it's if you feel that way, then you're feeling it that way, and that's okay to feel. And it's you can always, I think the element of trust that develops if you are having a good conversation, right?
Yeah, like you would talk to them and say, why do they feel that way? The biggest thing is that why is a big thing. Like what made them feel like that, right? And then you are identifying that it's not actually happening, but my child or the child is feeling that way. So that once you have that observation, you have to not leave it at that. You have to constantly work on it. And I'm saying, like I said, I personally would like to say 7 out of 10 times bullying is not happening, but people are feeling it that way, right? And 3 times it's real. So us talking to them is identifying, yes, it's actually happening. My child doesn't even feel he's getting bullied or she's getting bullied, but it is actually happening. Unless you open that door for conversation, and unless they're talking to you or you have the time for that conversation, it's not going to magically start happening when they're high schoolers or when they're young adults. It's not going to. You have not developed that relationship, and it's not the fault of the child.
Yeah, that those things can be prevented, if dealt with earlier age, right?
And disturbed families, I mean, there are certain things we just cannot avoid. Kids coming from foster families, kids coming from one parent, single parent families. There is going to be some disturbance there. Cannot avoid it. But the more you are validating it, the more the society is recognizing it is there, and I would think the lesser critical situations we are going to get into. the more we can seek, help can be given, help can be provided. You can work, I deal with so many foster kids. I know their journey is not easy. And my biggest thing, my biggest peeve with my teachers is they did not ask for it. It was just given to them, right? This situation was not, they did not create it. They were not part of the creation. So unless we are ready to help, how will they get help? Somebody has to get up and say, you know what, I'm going to work with you. No matter how bad it is. It is very bad. I've dealt with it.
The compassion has
Yeah. But unless we give that, and like I said, love is not spoken. It's a language. It's not a language that I can just say, I love you. Means nothing. That sensory thing is a big thing, and children sense it. And when they sense it, and when they realize you are there for them, no matter what happens, no matter how wrong they go, right? But then that prevention starts, that you can prevent certain things from happening. And that's when you realize you can make a change, and it's a good feeling when that happens, when you can do that, right? So the biggest thing with my thing with the parents is, A, don't be in denial. B, take the time out. We all as adults, we all understand it's not easy. They have financial responsibilities. They have other responsibilities. But in that same time, you just have to still make time for your child. I remember, with my own child, Sunday morning coffee time used to be board game time for us. 2 hours, I would switch off everything. I'd put a timer, play games together, Big thing. We love to play, both of us love to play board games. I used to be with my early morning tea sitting there, and, it was just, we just have that relationship.
And everybody probably has,
Different
can do different things, and that's okay. But the bottom line is spend time.
And like you said, develop those habits. Healthy living habits is basically what it is these are ways, and it really can be different ways. It can be done. I've seen families, they go out for games together. It's a big thing, right? Once a year, being here, I've learned that, these are all things you practice, right? Once a year, like I said, families go out for camping. They call it digital detox, right? Great idea. I thought in today's world, it's a great idea.
For everyone.
For everyone. For us also, people like us, adults, drop the phone. I'd love to do it in a heartbeat, but then can I live? I almost if I leave my phone at home and step out, I'm like, oh, half my life is there. So it's getting more and more challenging. And like I said, if for adults it's challenging, for kids, what we have learned, they have more. I grew up, I didn't know what DNA was, what RNA was. It was not part of the biology topic at all. It's now real. There's a study, whole study over it, where what high schoolers learn. So they learn of what we have learned, which is they have to learn that. And then there is more. And more and more and more and more is coming out.
It's constantly changing.
Yeah. And so if we had pressure in our generation, their pressure is even more real to deal with it. So we have to also understand that it's not easy. And then there is a cultural bias sometimes, basically divided, you're such cultures are also an issue. I coming from a diverse culture is basically, we are living in two cultures. Kids sense that.
Yeah, so what's the final message, Shakha, for reducing stress and anxiety for any age group? Like, doesn't matter, kid, adult, or like a little toddler, like any age group. What's the final message do you have?
I've learned this from the kids. Stop. They show this hand and they say stop. It's a big thing, which means you're actually, when somebody says that, you are required to stop, So that has to be, inculcated in your mind. Like I said, at some point you got to stop and think. That's the big thing. Like I said, you have to carve out a timetable and basically find time to just de-stress, you know. Basically, like I said, it could be any activity. It could be very personal to you. It could just be like, we're just going to sit here and talk, right? Or maybe in a week sometimes just read together. Watch TV together, not all the time, because that's not driving conversation, right? The biggest thing is we have to figure out ways to be able to communicate better. The communication is reducing. It is real. There are so many studies of kids, how they don't know how would they be facing interviews because they don't know how to communicate. Their interaction is all digital. It's not real. So real communication has to happen because we are still human beings at the end of the day. We are not robots, right? So my biggest message to somebody trying to relax is stop. I personally like to exercise every single day. Carve yourself. You can read any biographies of any people who are successful in life, right? They have that routine. 30 minutes carved out early in the morning for workout, if not 50, if not 1 hour, right? 30 minutes, right? Then I personally think meditation helps.
That's the stopping of the mind, right? So same thing. Okay, that's a lot of advice. Thank you, Shaka, for giving all this advice, and I know it's going to be very helpful to all age groups, not just the kids, but even for young adults, for parents and people of all age groups can benefit. That we need to take a break, we need to stop, we need to relax, we need to communicate, have a good schedule, healthy habits, and hopefully we can find that state of mind where we are relaxed and not feeling the anxiety and the stress, even though there will be some, but you just learn to kind of manage it, right? That's really helpful.
Thank you, Sanjana, for having me over. It's a great topic and it's very close to my heart. So always there, if anybody needs any help at any point, or if, reach out. I'm always there to talk. We are always there. Like I said, you're not alone, and we understand. I understand, it's real. It's not created, right? So basically, just reach out, be healthy, be safe, that's a big thing, like I said, 2 important things in life, healthy and safe. Safety is very important, right? So just do what you're supposed to do. That's what it is. And if you are a supporter, if you're supporting, take care of yourself. The journey is not easy. We understand. We all understand, but just hang in there. There is light at the end of the tunnel, However dark the tunnel is, there is still light at the end of the tunnel, right,
All right. Thanks for joining me, Shaka.
Thank you.
If you want to talk about anything at all, then you know who to call. Just tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Just tell Sanjana.